Answer truthfully. How long has your life seemed to be on repeat? You wake up, fulfill obligations, solve problems that look like yesterday's, lie down, and repeat. Different from tiredness, different from laziness. It is a deeper sensation, as if you were trapped in a cycle that works just enough not to break, but never takes you anywhere new. You maintain the routine, maintain the relationships, maintain the job, keep everything standing. And yet, when you stop for a moment and look at it all, something inside you says, this isn't it. This isn't me. If this sentence hit you, do not leave. Because what I am going to show you now will explain why your life entered this cycle, what this cycle really means, and why the feeling that everything is about to crumble might be the most precise sign that you are exactly where you need to be to truly begin again. Pay attention, because this first revelation is the foundation of everything that follows. There is a term in psychology that describes exactly what you are experiencing, and when I heard it for the first time, it changed my way of understanding human stagnation. Researchers from the Federal Council of Psychology use the concept of adaptive rigidity to describe a common phenomenon in adults over 35. The person builds a life structure that works: career, relationships, habits, beliefs, and this structure, because it worked at some point, becomes rigid. It crystallizes, and from the moment it crystallizes, it ceases to be a structure that serves you and becomes a structure that contains you. You are not inside a life, you are inside a mold. And this mold was shaped by who you were 5, 10, 20 years ago. The person who shaped that mold no longer exists, but the mold remains. And you keep trying to fit inside it, squeezing parts of yourself that have grown, ignoring parts that have changed, amputating desires that do not fit the mold. This generates exactly what you feel: repetition. Because repetition is not a lack of effort, it is an excess of form.
Attention, you need to prepare now. I put together an exclusive resource for those who feel set apart for something greater, but live surrounded by noise, distractions, and mental overload. This is a 30-day journey that will transform your life, a guided path to armor your mind and prepare for what's coming, with daily practices of focus, boundaries, and discipline. Stop negotiating with the noise. Learn to spot distractions before they control you and strengthen your mind. Also available in an immersive audio version. Over 10,000 readers have already transformed their lives through the 30-day journey. Thousands of people have already started this transformation. People like you who were tired of living in the fog, ordinary people who decided to stop accepting mental chaos. Take advantage of this limited time offer only this month. Access your link just below in the pinned comment.
It is a life that has become too small for who you have become. If this described what you are living, leave a like now. This gesture helps this content reach people who are trapped in the same cycle and thinking the problem is them. Now I need to go deeper, because understanding that the mold has become small is only the diagnosis. You need to understand what happens when the mold is broken, and why this break, despite appearing to be destruction, is the most creative act that can happen in your life. There is an image in the first chapter of Genesis that most people read as a cosmological myth, but which functions as a psychological map of surgical precision. The text says that before creation, everything was tohu vavohu. This Hebrew expression is composed of two words that together describe something with no simple translation. Tohu means formless void, without structure, without defined contour. Vavohu means desolation, absence of recognizable content. Tohu vavohu is the state before form. Researchers from the Department of Semitic Languages at UFRJ analyzed this expression in the literary contexts of the ancient Near East and concluded that tohu vavohu does not describe destruction. It describes pure potentiality. It is the state in which nothing has yet been defined, which means everything can still be. It is not the emptiness of nothingness. It is the emptiness of everything that is not yet born. And here is the point that will reformulate everything you think about the moment you are living. All genuine creation is preceded by tohu vavohu. There is no authentic construction, without the dismantling of what came before. You do not build a new house on top of an old foundation that no longer supports the weight. You first undo. First comes the void. First comes disorientation. And only then, from this clean space, can something new be erected. The feeling that everything is being dismantled in your life is not punishment. It is not failure. It is tohu vavohu. It is creation returning to the state of maximum potency so that a new form, one that corresponds to who you are now, can emerge. And I know that at this moment a part of you wants to believe this, and another part is saying, "But I have bills to pay. I have responsibilities. I cannot simply let everything dismantle." I understand. And I am not asking you to abandon everything tomorrow. I am asking you to stop fighting the process of recognition, to stop spending energy keeping a structure standing that your own being is asking to let go. Because while you spend everything you have sustaining what no longer works, there is nothing left to build what should exist. Now I need to tell you a story, and this story is perhaps the most misunderstood in the entire Bible. Job. Most people know Job as the man who lost everything and suffered unjustly, and they stop there. Job's suffering becomes an example of patience, of resistance, and the moral they extract is, endure, and God will return everything twofold. But this reading is so superficial, it borders on negligence toward the text. Because Job is not a story about patience. It is a story about dismantling. Job had everything: family, wealth, social position, reputation. And the text is clear. Job was upright. He lost nothing for having done something wrong. The dismantling that happened in his life was not a consequence of error. It was a consequence of a process that needed to happen so that something deeper could be revealed. Each layer that was removed, possessions, children, health, social respect, exposed a more internal layer of Job that he himself did not know. He was being reduced layer by layer until reaching the point where nothing remained between him and his purest essence. And here is the detail that makes all the difference. When Job finally speaks with God, not through theology, not through the advice of friends, not through second-hand interpretations, when the direct encounter happens, Job says something that is the most revolutionary sentence in the entire book. He says, "I had heard of you by the hearing of the ear, but now my eye sees you." The Hebrew word used for see in this passage is ra, which does not simply mean seeing with physical eyes. Ra means to perceive with totality, to understand by direct experience. Job is saying, everything I knew about myself, about life, about the sacred was second-hand information. Now, after being stripped of everything, I finally have direct access. Do you understand what this means for your life? While you live covered in layers, the job title, the reputation, the expectations, the character you built to function in the world, you know yourself by hearsay. You know the version that others reflect back. You know the summary, not the full text. The dismantling, this feeling that things are being removed, that the cycle is breaking, that the ground is shaking, is the process that allows Ra. Direct vision. The encounter without intermediaries with who you really are. Subscribe now and activate the bell, because the video that follows will deepen exactly what to do with this vision when it arrives. How to translate it into practical decisions that rebuild your life on a foundation that is truly yours. Don't miss it. Now let's go to the second part, because I need to show you the active mechanism of this process. Because up to here it might seem like I am describing something that happens to you. And that is the dangerous reading. Because dismantling is not something that happens to you. It is something that happens through you. You are the agent, not the patient. There is a Greek concept that is central to Pauline texts and describes exactly this mechanic. Kenosis. Kenosis comes from the verb kenou, which means to empty oneself. Literally, to become empty. In theology, kenosis describes the divine act of giving up prerogatives to become accessible. But at the existential level, kenosis describes something profoundly practical. It is the conscious act of emptying oneself of what is not essential to create space for what is. It is not passive loss, it is active renunciation. There is an abysmal difference between having something taken from you and choosing to let go. In the first, you are a victim. In the second, you are an author. Researchers at Princeton, in the psychology department, investigated what they call structured voluntary detachment, the process by which individuals undergoing significant life transitions show better psychological outcomes when they perceive the process as their own choice, even if the external circumstances are the same. In other words, the same loss experienced as an imposition generates trauma. The same loss experienced as a decision generates transformation. The difference is not in what happens, it is in the posture of the one who lives it. Kenosis is the posture that transforms dismantling into creation. It is when you look at the career that suffocates, and instead of waiting for it to crumble on its own, you say, "I choose to let go." It is when you look at the relationship that drains, and instead of waiting for the other person to change or for the situation to become unbearable, you say, "I recognize that this no longer corresponds to who I am." It is when you look at the thought pattern that keeps you small, that voice that says you are not capable, people like you don't get there, better not to risk it, and instead of fighting against it, you empty the space it occupies. Not by fighting, not by repressing, by letting go. Let me give you the second story, because it illustrates kenosis with a concreteness that cannot be ignored. Abraham. Before he was Abraham, his name was Abram. He lived in Ur of the Chaldeans. He had family, position, security. And then he receives an instruction that, in Hebrew, is one of the densest phrases in all of Scripture, Lech Lecha. The conventional translation is, "Go forth, leave your land." But Lech Lecha does not just say go. The particle lecha, for yourself, into yourself, changes the meaning completely. What the text is saying is, go to yourself, move toward who you are, and for that leave where you are. Scholars of comparative biblical literature from PUC Rio demonstrate that Lech Lecha is one of the only instructions in the Torah where the destination is not specified. The instruction is clear about what to leave, your land, your kindred, your father's house, but it is deliberately vague about where to go. It says only, "To the land that I will show you." The destination is revealed on the way, not before it. Abraham did not receive a map. He received an internal direction and the instruction to let go of everything that defined his current identity, to discover an identity that only existed in potency. This is living kenosis. It is Lech Lecha in action. It is emptying oneself of the known identity to open space for the true identity. And notice, Abraham did not wait for Ur to be destroyed to leave. He left while Ur was still functioning. He did not flee from a disaster. He walked toward a calling. The difference is fundamental. Fleeing is reaction. Walking toward is decision. Researchers from Nature Human Behavior published a longitudinal study on what they term voluntary identity transitions, life changes initiated by the individual themselves before a crisis forces the change. The data is clear. People who initiate the transition voluntarily present significantly higher levels of satisfaction, identity coherence, and resilience in the following 5 years, compared to people who only changed when there was no other alternative. It is not a coincidence, it is mechanics. When you are the agent of change, every step of the journey is integrated by your system as an achievement, not as a loss. Comment the word restart, recomeço, down below. This word is your declaration of kenosis. It is you saying, "I choose to empty." I am not waiting for life to take from me what I already know I need to let go. I am making the decision. When you write restart, you are recording the moment you stopped being a patient of the dismantling and became the author of the reconstruction. Now I need to take you to the final level, because without this, everything I said remains beautiful, but incomplete. You need to understand what is born after the void, because kenosis without direction is just loss. Tohu vavohu without creation is just chaos. The emptying must be followed by reconstruction, and the reconstruction must happen on a different foundation than the previous one. The third story is about Ezekiel. Ezekiel was taken in a vision to a valley full of dry bones. The Hebrew text uses the word atzamot, bones, repeatedly, almost rhythmically, creating an image of total desolation. They were not whole skeletons. They were scattered, disconnected, dry bones. Everything that was once alive, structured, functional, was now reduced to its most basic form. And God asks Ezekiel, "Can these bones live?" And Ezekiel's answer is one of the most honest in the entire Bible. Lord, you know, he doesn't say yes, he doesn't say no. He says, I have no way of knowing this from what I see. If I look only at the visible evidence, the answer is no. But he refuses to give an answer based only on the visible. And then something happens that is described with an extraordinary Hebrew word, ruach. Ruach appears in the Bible with three simultaneous meanings: wind, breath, and spirit. It is the same word for all three things. And in the valley of dry bones, ruach is what reconnects, covers, and reanimates the bones. First comes the noise, the bones coming together. Then comes the structure, tendons and flesh covering the bones. Then comes the skin, and finally comes ruach, the breath that transforms structure into life. The sequence is fundamental and not random. First, reconnection. The scattered parts of your life, forgotten talents, repressed desires, ignored truths, need to be reconnected. Second, structure. It is not enough to put the pieces together. They need form, organization, direction. Third, protection. The skin that covers is the boundary between you and the world. The ability to say, up to here is mine, and from here out it does not belong to me. And finally, ruach, the breath that animates everything. The purpose that transforms a functional structure into a living life. Researchers from the Federal University of Rio Grande do Sul investigated identity reconstruction processes in adults who went through significant ruptures, divorce, dismissal, grief, migration, and documented that the recovery sequence follows a remarkably consistent pattern that mirrors exactly Ezekiel's vision. First, the person reconnects scattered identity fragments. Then, they organize these fragments into a new, coherent narrative. Then, they establish clear boundaries with the environment. And finally, they find a renewed sense of purpose that animates the entire structure. People who try to skip steps, who seek purpose before reconnecting fragments, or who try to establish boundaries before reorganizing the narrative, show significantly higher rates of relapse to the previous pattern. This means the process has an order, and the order matters. You cannot build before emptying. You cannot empty without recognizing what needs to be let go, and you cannot recognize what needs to be let go without the brutal honesty that this entire video is inviting you to exercise. I will close with something that is the synthesis of everything. Job shows you that dismantling is not destruction. It is the removal of layers that prevent Ra'ah, the direct vision of who you are without disguise. Abraham shows you that reconstruction begins with Lech Lecha, the movement toward yourself, which requires kenosis, the voluntary emptying of what no longer serves. Ezekiel shows you that after Tohu Vavohu, after the valley of dry bones, after the void, comes Ruach, comes the breath, comes the life that is not a repetition of the old, but a creation of the new. And the most important point of all, none of them waited passively. Job questioned, Abraham walked, Ezekiel prophesied over the bones. All were agents, all participated actively in the reconstruction process. The dismantling may begin without your permission, the cycle breaking, the dissatisfaction growing, the ground shaking, but the reconstruction only happens with your decision. Today before you sleep, I want you to do one thing. Take a piece of paper, not your phone, a piece of paper, and write 2 lists. In the first, write everything you are keeping in your life out of inertia, not out of desire, not out of purpose, out of inertia. Because it has always been this way, because everyone expects it, because you are afraid of what happens if you let go. In the second list, write what you would do if fear did not exist. Not what is realistic, what is true, without filters, without self-censorship, without the voice that says people like me can't. And then look at the 2 lists side by side. The distance between them is the exact measure of the space that kenosis needs to create in your life. It is the size of the tohu vavohu necessary for your creation to happen. You are not in repetition because you failed. You are in repetition because you grew beyond the form you built, and the form needs to be broken so that what is alive in you has room to breathe. If you know someone trapped in the cycle, someone living on autopilot, sustaining a structure they no longer recognize as theirs, spending all their energy to keep standing something that no longer makes sense, send this video to that person now. It might be the most important thing you do today. In the next video, I will show you how to identify the first signs that reconstruction has already begun, and the critical error most people make in the first days of the process, which can cause them to return to the old cycle without realizing it. If you want to complete this map, activate the bell. This content is not sequential by chance. I'll see you in the next one.
Attention, you need to prepare now. I put together an exclusive resource for those who feel set apart for something greater, but live surrounded by noise, distractions, and mental overload. This is a 30-day journey that will transform your life, a guided path to armor your mind and prepare for what's coming, with daily practices of focus, boundaries, and discipline. Stop negotiating with the noise. Learn to spot distractions before they control you and strengthen your mind. Also available in an immersive audio version. Over 10,000 readers have already transformed their lives through the 30-day journey. Thousands of people have already started this transformation. People like you, who were tired of living in the fog, ordinary people who decided to stop accepting mental chaos. Take advantage of this limited time offer only this month. Access your link just below in the pinned comment.